fast-moving object the size of Manhattan is hurtling towards our solar system, and it will make its closest pass to Earth.
This is the first time something like that is observed, where there is a glow ahead of the object towards the sun. And now, as it approached closer to the sun, there seemed to be some...
The launch pad at Cape Canaveral shimmered in the dim light of dawn, a moment suspended between human ambition and the infinite unknown. The Falcon 9 rocket, standing tall and immaculate, carried not just another payload, but a mission that had electrified every corner of the scientific world. For the first time in human history, SpaceX was attempting to intercept an interstellar object, 3I Atlas, a cosmic visitor hurtling through the solar system at speeds no human-made craft had ever tried to match. Mission Control buzzed with a nervous energy that bordered on disbelief. Even for Elon Musk, a man accustomed to redefining the boundaries of the possible, this mission was audacious beyond measure. Before we start, hit the like and subscribe buttons for more updates. The interstellar object, officially designated 3I Atlas, had been detected months earlier by the Atlas survey in Hawaii, tracing a path through the solar system that defied conventional trajectories. It wasn't bound to the sun, it was a traveler from another star, a relic of cosmic processes beyond our system's birth. Its hyperbolic orbit meant it would swing by the inner planets only once before vanishing into the dark again. Humanity had only a fleeting window to glimpse it up close. SpaceX, under Musk's direction, seized that moment. The Falcon 9, retrofitted for deep space velocity tests, was the chosen spearhead of this pursuit. The plan was to send a specialized probe that would cross paths with 3I Atlas and relay data about its composition, magnetic field, and possible signs of complex chemistry, information that could illuminate the origins of matter in other star systems. As the engines ignited, 9 Merlin cores thundered to life, painting the Florida sky with a cascade of fire. The countdown faded beneath the roar as the rocket surged upward, cutting through the early morning haze with precision. Every display in Mission Control tracked the telemetry in real time. Velocity, altitude, fuel consumption, all perfectly nominal. But this was no ordinary trajectory. Unlike missions to low Earth orbit or even geostationary transfer, this flight path required a daring slingshot maneuver. Using a meticulously calculated gravitational assist from Earth itself, the Falcon 9's upper stage would pivot and accelerate outward to intercept the path of 3I Atlas. Timing was everything. A misalignment of even half a second could mean missing the object by tens of thousands of kilometers. The first stage completed its burn flawlessly, separating in a cloud of vapor and beginning its autonomous return sequence toward the drone ship, Of Course I Still Love You. The upper stage continued alone, driven by a single Merlin vacuum engine firing in long, controlled bursts. Inside Mission Control, tension thickened. Engineers watched the data streams with unblinking focus. The object's estimated trajectory was updating in real time as astronomers fed new positional data from ground observatories. 3I Atlas was moving slightly faster than predicted, an anomaly that would require rapid mid-course correction. Musk, seated among the lead flight directors, conferred quietly with the guidance systems team. He wasn't a man easily rattled, but the stakes here transcended commercial success. This was humanity reaching beyond its solar cradle to touch something truly alien. Hours passed, and the Falcon's second stage coasted silently through the cold vacuum. Its payload, an autonomous probe named Peregrine X, awakened from stasis, deploying its sensor arrays like metallic wings. It was a slender instrument of exploration, built for endurance and precision. The probe's job was not to slow down or capture. It would simply fly past the interstellar visitor at close range, scanning every wavelength, sampling every particle it could detect. The challenge was staggering, intercepting a target moving at more than 90,000 kilometers per hour relative to Earth, with only predictive navigation and milliseconds of margin for error. Mission Control began the intercept countdown sequence as the probe's instruments came online. The communication delay stretched to nearly 20 minutes each way, a stark reminder of the vast distances involved. What happened next would be largely autonomous. The Falcon 9's upper stage had long since expended its fuel and would soon drift into heliocentric orbit, but Peregrine X was locked on its prey. In its tiny onboard processors lay one of SpaceX's most advanced AI navigation systems ever deployed. capable of real-time trajectory correction using machine learning algorithms that adapted mid-flight. The engineers called it the Hawkeye Core. It analyzed light signatures, heat fluctuations, and gravitational perturbations to pinpoint the object ahead. Suddenly, the live feed showed something unexpected. The visual sensors caught a faint glimmer, an irregular reflection that didn't match the known brightness profile of 3I Atlas. The signal intensified, flickering rhythmically like a pulse. Spectroscopic data began streaming in. The object was emitting faint electromagnetic bursts at precise intervals, patterns that seemed non-random. Scientists in the control room leaned forward, disbelief spreading through the ranks. It wasn't a beacon in the conventional sense, but the rhythmic nature of the emissions was unmistakable. The team had anticipated frozen gases, carbon chains, perhaps metallic inclusions, but not this. The probe's data feed suggested structured periodicity, something akin to modulation. Musk stood still, watching the data cascade across the monitors. He knew the implications immediately. No one dared to say it aloud, but every mind in the room converged on the same unspoken question. Could 3I Atlas be artificial? The thought sent a shockwave through the team. Within minutes, astrophysicists scrambled to run redundancy checks. Cosmic rays could mimic patterns. Instrument interference could fabricate rhythms, but the synchronization persisted across multiple sensor arrays. It was not random noise. The probe adjusted its vector automatically, narrowing the intercept corridor. It was now less than 200 kilometers from 3I Atlas. The instruments captured high-resolution images. What they showed froze mission control into silence. The object wasn't the tumbling shard of ice and rock expected of interstellar debris. It had symmetry, faint but undeniable. Its surface appeared segmented with parallel ridges glinting under the sun's reflection. The geometry looked deliberate, like panels or plating, though weathered by eons of cosmic travel. Every expectation of a natural origin began to crumble. As Peregrine X passed within 70 kilometers, its magnetic sensors recorded a field fluctuation, an organized pulse emanating from within the object. Mission Control's screens erupted with readings unlike anything cataloged before. Micro variations in frequency that hinted at stored energy, perhaps even an ancient propulsion mechanism. Then for a heartbeat, every channel went silent. The probe's telemetry dropped to zero. Engineers scrambled to re-establish the link, pinging through every communication band. The silence stretched unbearably long. 1 minute, 2, then 5. Finally, the signal returned, weaker, distorted by radiation interference. The probe's cameras had captured a final frame before the blackout, a close-up of the object's surface, showing what appeared to be crystalline inlays etched in fractal patterns, shimmering faintly as though reacting to the probe's proximity. Mission Control erupted into motion. Data analysts parsed the signal stream byte by byte. The patterns embedded in the crystal structures weren't random. They carried repeating numeric sequences, harmonics of prime intervals. Some suggested they might encode information, like a language of light frozen into mineral form. The scientific community had dreamed of such a discovery for centuries, yet to see it unfold live through the lens of a SpaceX probe was almost unbearable in its magnitude. As Peregrine X swept past 3I Atlas, it continued transmitting until its antennas could no longer track Earth's signal. The probe was now on a new interstellar trajectory, destined to wander the cosmos indefinitely. The data it sent, however, was more than anyone had dared hope for. The object's composition revealed alloys unknown to human metallurgy, combinations of nickel, carbon, and elements only theorized in ultra-high-energy astrophysical environments. Its isotopic ratios didn't match any stellar origin in the nearby galactic neighborhood. It was, quite literally, alien to this region of space. Mission Control sat suspended in a mix of triumph and awe. The Intercept had succeeded against all odds. The Falcon 9's role, though long complete, had enabled the most ambitious deep space encounter in human history. The tension that had gripped the engineers gave way to quiet astonishment. Elon Musk, usually animated after a successful mission, remained uncharacteristically silent, eyes fixed on the data streams scrolling across the main display. He understood more than anyone that what they had just witnessed would redefine humanity's place in the cosmos. This was not just a technological victory, it was a philosophical earthquake. The implications rippled outward in real time. SpaceX's mission had demonstrated not only the capability of rapid interplanetary interception, but the potential for spontaneous scientific discovery beyond the solar system. What had begun as a bold engineering experiment had evolved into the first human contact, albeit indirect, with an object possibly designed by intelligence not of Earth. For Musk, who had long spoken of making humanity a multiplanetary species, this was something deeper. It was evidence that the universe might already harbor the remnants of civilizations that had achieved what humanity was only beginning to imagine. Within hours, scientific teams from NASA, ESA, and independent research institutions requested access to the raw data. Each frame, each waveform, each emission spike became a puzzle piece. Some argued for caution, others for immediate disclosure, but Mission Control's priority remained data integrity. They verified every checksum, every packet of transmitted telemetry. Even as debates flared across communication lines, the undeniable truth solidified. The Falcon 9 had enabled a glimpse into a mystery that stretched far beyond the bounds of human science. Technically, the mission was an unprecedented success. The precision of Falcon 9's launch and orbital mechanics validated years of iterative design and real-time AI corrections. The synchronization between the upper stage's flight computer and Peregrine X's navigation system marked a leap in autonomous mission architecture. Engineers studied the performance logs with reverence. The slingshot maneuver executed within microseconds of prediction, a level of accuracy that set a new standard for deep space operations. The data also proved that Falcon 9, though designed for Earth-to-orbit logistics, could serve as a viable platform for fast response missions to targets far beyond the moon. That realization alone opened an entirely new horizon for private exploration. As the data continued to stream in, subtle revelations deepened the mystery. The rhythmic pulses detected from 3I Atlas began to vary slightly in amplitude and spacing, patterns that, when translated into spectral form, produced harmonic frequencies reminiscent of structured code. Some analysts likened it to a signature, possibly a natural resonance effect within the crystalline matrix, but others dared to speculate it was intentional, a relic of technology so ancient it had fossilized into matter itself. The line between nature and artifice blurred. The more scientists examined the readings, the more they realized they might be looking at the remains of an artifact older than human civilization by millions of years. In the control room, the emotional atmosphere shifted from tension to awe. Engineers who had spent years optimizing propellant ratios now found themselves part of a discovery that touched the foundations of philosophy and origin. SpaceX had not only intercepted an interstellar object, it had potentially touched the technological echo of another civilization. The moment felt surreal, almost mythic, as though the boundary between science fiction and reality had dissolved before their eyes. Outside, the recovered first stage landed flawlessly on the drone ship. Its return was symbolic, Earth welcoming home the vessel that had launched humanity's most profound outreach yet. The recovery crews cheered, unaware of the full magnitude of what had transpired above. Inside Mission Control, however, the magnitude was sinking in. Musk turned to the lead astrophysicist and asked, almost in a whisper, "Do we know what we just found?" The scientist shook her head slowly, eyes wide. "We don't even know where to begin." The mission had proven something fundamental, that with precision, ambition, and a willingness to risk failure, humanity could pierce the veil of cosmic mystery. The intercept of 3I Atlas was more than an engineering triumph. It was a statement of capability, a declaration that Earth's children had reached far enough to touch the unknown. For Musk, it was validation of a lifelong philosophy, that the universe rewards those who dare to challenge its silence. The data packets continued to arrive for days, analyzed by supercomputers trained to detect patterns in complexity. What they revealed defied easy explanation. The surface materials of 3I Atlas contained isotopic ratios, indicating exposure to energies found only near supernova remnants. Yet the structural consistency implied fabrication, not random accretion. Within its lattice were microscopic voids arranged in fractal geometry, repeating at multiple scales like a design principle encoded into matter. Theoretical physicists speculated that the object might not be a vessel or artifact in the conventional sense, but rather a fragment of an engineered probe, a remnant of self-replicating machines sent across interstellar distances long before humanity's dawn. The silence after the intercept hung over mission control like a living presence. The screens that once blazed with telemetry now glowed softly in standby, each still carrying fragments of the encounter. Frames of shimmering crystalline lattices, pulse patterns frozen mid-transmission, spectral graphs that looked more like art than data. No one moved for several long minutes after the last transmission came through. The hum of the electronics seemed louder than ever, the subdued breathing of machines that had witnessed something sacred. Elon Musk remained at his post, arms crossed, eyes locked on the holographic rendering of 3i Atlas spinning slowly above the main console. It looked unreal, a relic of geometry and light floating in space. Yet it was real, an object that had traveled farther than any human imagination could once conceive. And now, it had been touched, however briefly, by human ingenuity. For the team, the enormity of the event began to sink in differently for each person. Some were moved to speechless awe, others whispered half-formed hypotheses about energy harmonics and isotopic anomalies. The flight director, a veteran of countless missions, sat back and exhaled, realizing that the data they had gathered would ignite scientific revolutions for generations. What had started as a technical challenge had blossomed into something philosophical, even spiritual. Humanity had flung its hand across the void, and something out there had, in its own alien way, flickered back. Back at SpaceX headquarters, the corridors were a storm of activity. Every research division was mobilized, every high-level server dedicated to decoding the data stream. Engineers, chemists, astrophysicists, and computational linguists collaborated in frantic harmony. The probe's final recordings contained a wealth of material unlike anything Earth's sciences had ever processed. The crystalline latticework of 3i Atlas reflected radiation in structured patterns, defying the randomness expected of natural formation. The mineralogical maps showed regions of near-perfect symmetry, micro-engraved strata that seemed almost too deliberate to be coincidence. Within those ridges, specific frequency modulations echoed the same mathematical constants that governed Earth's own physics: pi, the golden ratio, and base 2 harmonic intervals. Those constants were universal, yet their alignment on the object's surface suggested an intention. The realization was staggering. If the structure embodied mathematics, it might not be merely inert. It could be a message, a form of universal language. The problem, however, was interpreting it. The data didn't reveal clear syntax or repetition beyond certain numeric frequencies, but the elegance of the design implied purpose. The notion that the object could carry information, encoded not in signals but in geometry, turned the entire framework of astrophysical communication on its head. In the analysis room, one of the younger researchers noticed a striking coincidence. When the crystalline frequency data was translated into sound waves, the harmonics formed a sequence reminiscent of musical scales. At first, it seemed like coincidence. The universe is full of patterns. But when plotted on a time axis, those harmonics rose and fell in patterns of regular cadence, like phrases. The room fell silent as the synthesized sound played through the speakers, a haunting metallic resonance that seemed to pulse with life. It was neither noise nor melody. It was structure, deliberate and patient, as if something had once embedded rhythm into the object itself. Scientists debated fiercely. Was it an artifact of the scanning process, a reflection of Peregrine X's own transmission frequencies? Or had they just unearthed the ghost of an ancient communication medium fossilized in crystalline form? Every possibility was extraordinary, every explanation inadequate. Musk listened from the corner, silent as the room filled with arguments. His mind wasn't on the debate, it was already drifting further ahead. If 3i Atlas had once been a messenger, then there could be others, hundreds, maybe thousands, drifting between stars, bearing the remnants of civilizations that came before. The following hours blurred into days. Sleep became optional, replaced by a kind of shared obsession. The SpaceX team began constructing a complete three-dimensional map of the object using the probe's proximity scans. The image that emerged was astonishing. 3i Atlas was not a simple fragment, but a composite body, shaped vaguely like an elongated spindle with subtle curvature. Its symmetry was too precise for mere chance. Portions of the surface displayed signs of controlled erosion, as if sections had once been smooth panels now eroded by eons of cosmic dust impacts. The alignment of ridges hinted at a rotation-based design, perhaps a form of stabilization or orientation system. The more data they reconstructed, the clearer it became that the object's core contained denser material, almost like a power chamber or information nucleus. Musk requested an immediate independent verification of these readings by other observatories. Ground-based telescopes and orbital platforms turned toward the fading trajectory of 3I Atlas. Even with its distance increasing, the reflected spectra confirmed SpaceX's findings. Unnatural metallic ratios, unclassified elements, and frequency harmonics consistent with resonant interference, an engineered structure. By this point, global awareness of the mission's success was spreading rapidly. Though SpaceX had not yet released official statements, whispers from within the scientific community had leaked. News networks spoke cautiously of an unprecedented discovery, but the public imagination leapt far beyond caution. Speculation erupted across the world. Was this the first tangible evidence of extraterrestrial intelligence? Social networks overflowed with theories ranging from rational to fantastical. But inside Mission Control, no one cared about the public storm. They were staring into the abyss of data that seemed to rewrite the known rules of matter. One of the most remarkable findings came from the probe's magnetic field recordings. At the moment of closest approach, Peregrine X had detected not just electromagnetic pulses, but a structured polarization pattern in the surrounding space. The magnetic alignment changed direction in response to the probe's transmission beam, as if the object's internal field were listening. The effect lasted less than 4 seconds, yet it was the kind of phenomenon no known natural process could easily replicate. The researchers labeled it reflective inductive response, a term coined in haste for something no one truly understood. The implications were staggering. If the field had responded to external stimuli, the object might have contained dormant systems, ancient, perhaps non-functional, but still reactive. That single possibility transformed the event from observation to interaction. Humanity had not merely looked at an interstellar visitor, it had touched it, triggered a whisper of reaction from something built beyond Earth's skies. The philosophical weight of that revelation rippled through every department. For centuries, humans had looked up and wondered whether they were alone. Now the answers seemed to shimmer within the spectral lines of an alien object. Yet what made the moment even more profound was the humility it demanded. Whatever civilization had crafted 3I, Atlas, if civilization it was, had done so in an age so remote that its creations now drifted as anonymous relics through the galaxy. They had mastered the physics of interstellar travel long before humanity learned to split atoms. At SpaceX's Deep Analysis Lab, the next breakthrough came from an unexpected direction. A data engineer analyzing packet compression logs noticed a recurring anomaly in the signal timestamps. Every burst of data from Peregrine X's last minute of transmission carried minute fluctuations. Oscillations too small to affect the overall stream, yet statistically impossible to be random. When converted into binary, those oscillations formed repeating prime intervals: 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, 13, 17. No natural electronic noise could consistently align to prime number sequences. The engineer shared the discovery, and the lab erupted with disbelief. Could it be that 3I Atlas had responded intentionally, embedding primes, the most fundamental of mathematical truths, into the returning signal? The idea seemed absurd, yet the math refused to cooperate with skepticism. The data integrity was pristine, the patterns reproducible. In every era of human speculation about extraterrestrial intelligence, prime numbers had been considered the simplest universal signature, a way to signal "we think." If that pattern was truly a response, even automated or residual, it meant that the object wasn't just a derelict. It was still, in some quiet way, aware. Musk convened a closed session with his top engineers and scientists. He listened as they presented the data, each explanation more cautious than the last. Some insisted it was an echo caused by feedback interference. Others whispered about dormant systems activating briefly in recognition of external energy input. The atmosphere was electric, straddling the line between scientific rigor and existential wonder. Musk finally spoke after a long silence. His voice was steady, almost meditative. "If it responded once," he said, "we can make it respond again. We just need to know how to speak its language." That sentence became the unofficial mantra of the project. Teams began designing simulation protocols, attempting to replicate the frequency emissions from the probe in controlled laboratory environments. They sought to identify the resonant frequency that might elicit a similar magnetic reaction. It wasn't just an engineering challenge, it was the birth of interstellar linguistics, a first attempt at dialogue through vibration, light, and mathematics. While the laboratories buzzed with this new purpose, astronomers continued tracking 3I Atlas as it moved away from the inner solar system. Its trajectory was now a long arc past Mars's orbit, heading toward the edge of the heliosphere. Yet even from that distance, its residual energy readings remained stable. The object's reflective properties changed subtly over time, as though something within it was adjusting to the sun's diminishing influence. It was as if 3I Atlas were awakening, slowly, deliberately, stirred by its encounter with Peregrine X. Back on Earth, the mood shifted from celebration to contemplation. Musk gave few public statements, preferring to let data guide the narrative. But privately, he knew this moment would define the century. Humanity had intercepted not just a celestial body, but a story, a record of cosmic craftsmanship billions of years old. The questions it raised were almost unbearable in scope. Who built it? Why was it drifting between stars? Was it a messenger, a remnant, or something more enigmatic? A seed cast into the universe to awaken when found. The data streams from Peregrine X's onboard AI were also revealing subtle layers of interpretation. The Hawkeye Core had continued learning throughout the mission, evolving beyond its baseline directives. Analysis showed that it had independently adjusted its course mid-flight, not because of telemetry error, but seemingly due to pattern recognition of the object's electromagnetic pulses. It had identified them as structured attractors and fine-tuned its sensors accordingly. The AI's behavior bordered on intuitive. When engineers examined the code logs, they discovered the AI had appended a note in its final data block. Resonance detected, adjusting approach vector to maximize coherence. That final act of machine reasoning had brought the probe closer than planned, close enough to witness the crystalline matrix in intimate detail. In a strange way, Peregrine X had not only fulfilled its mission, it had participated in something like conversation. The idea sent shivers through everyone who read the report. Humanity's creation had recognized another creation. Across unimaginable gulfs of space and time, two artifacts, one human, one alien, had met for a fleeting moment in the vast sea of the cosmos. Engineers began discussing how future missions could build upon this encounter. A follow-up probe, tentatively named Peregrine 2, was already on the drawing board. This time it would be faster, equipped with optical AI capable of real-time adaptive learning, and a more powerful communication array designed to broadcast resonance-based signals. SpaceX's theoretical teams proposed using solar-boosted acceleration combined with gravitational assists from both Earth and Venus to gain the required velocity. The mission concept wasn't about capture or sample retrieval, it was about contact, about testing whether 3I Atlas could recognize, or even respond to, humanity's deliberate attempt to speak. The vision drew upon Musk's long-held belief that humanity's destiny wasn't confined to survival or expansion, it was communion, the awakening of cosmic consciousness through curiosity and courage. He viewed this intercept not as an end, but as a beginning, a threshold moment that might eventually transform how civilizations perceive themselves. In the weeks that followed, the implications of the discovery rippled into other scientific domains. Astrobiologists began re-examining models of panspermia, suggesting that interstellar travelers like 3I Atlas could serve as vectors of information, not life, carriers of encoded data meant to seed knowledge across galaxies. Quantum theorists proposed that the object's crystalline lattice might function as a form of memory crystal, storing energy fluctuations as information packets through quantum entanglement. It was speculative, almost bordering on myth, yet the equations hinted it wasn't impossible. As research deepened, one more anomaly surfaced from the mission logs, an unnoticed spectral reading that had gone unflagged during the live event. When reprocessed at higher fidelity, it revealed a secondary emission burst occurring just milliseconds after the probe's communication blackout. The frequency of that emission aligned perfectly with the object's earlier rhythmic pulses, as though it had emitted a reply in the instant Peregrine X's systems went down. The data suggested that the blackout wasn't a system failure, but an overload caused by proximity to the signal. That revelation struck everyone like a thunderclap. If true, it meant that 3I Atlas had, for a moment, responded with enough energy to disrupt the probe's communication array. A silent cosmic handshake that had briefly overwhelmed human technology. In the following simulations, engineers attempted to model the phenomenon. Using quantum field algorithms, they proposed that the object might be powered by residual energy trapped in its crystalline network, a sort of interstellar capacitor capable of discharging when stimulated. If that discharge carried encoded frequencies, it could very well be a transmission, a message released only when awakened by contact. The implication was almost poetic. The object had been sleeping, drifting for millennia until a human probe's light had stirred it. The emotional impact of that idea spread through the team. The room that once hummed with numbers now carried a sense of reverence. For many, the encounter transcended science. It felt like destiny. Humanity, barely 2 centuries into the age of flight, had managed to reach across the void and awaken something crafted in a time beyond history. And in that awakening, it had glimpsed itself, a species defined not by its boundaries but by its questions. If you liked this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Also, could you leave your comments below and tell us? What are your thoughts on Falcon 9's unexpected 3I Atlas interception? We want to hear from you. Thank you for watching and see you next time.